you want to use my camera?
Yeah. So I've always been curious about the FX3. I can't lie. I love my Fujifilm, but I've always been curious. First thing I noticed is the IBIS interacts very differently than the Fuji's. So me and my buddy Jacob, we met up in New Orleans. We have kind of ventured onto Bourbon Street.
It's great that people look so happy and so sad at the same time.
So the objective, I'm gonna make a 30-second video about New Orleans and my trip here with a camera that I have never used.
Menu. Steady shot. Maybe.
The challenge is, I've never used this camera. I'm gonna pick it up with 0 instructions from him on how to use it, and I get 2 lifelines. So if I'm struggling with how to change something on it, I can ask him any question twice, and we'll see how it goes. This will really help with how user-friendly it is. And so without further ado, let's go. And then we'll montage. Turn the camera on. Pretty easy here.
Okay, here we go. We can't go to 1/48 on shutter. A little disappointing, but I'll let it slide. Totally missed focus on that.
That's one thing I guess we're doing. We're not using autofocus on this. We're both using the exact same lens, Canon 50mm. It'll be speed boosted on the Fuji.
First hurdle, white balance. Oh boy.
2 hours later.
There we go. Okay.
So this wheel changes it.
After you push the button. That looks better. Biggest thing I noticed is it's really easy to know when you're recording, which I love. Like there's 4 tally lights. Pretty awesome. How do you, oh, never mind, lifeline. I don't want to use it. I need to figure out how to make this IBIS where I can kind of walk with it. And I know there's like there's multiple settings and I know that. Let's see. There's active and standard and off. Okay, so I think I've been using active this whole time. One thing that I love is the ability to zoom. I guess it's probably called clear image zoom or something like that. Really nice feature if you're using a fixed lens. Pretty awesome. See how gimbal-like we can get with steady shot. That was pretty smooth.
And everything looks good on a 1-inch screen.
And then it's like, wow, wow, wow.
Yeah. It's just.
This is a challenge with a 50mm. It's hard to get.
That's the real challenge.
Yeah, right. So I've recorded all of this in real time, but I think I want to try slow-mo, so I'm gonna see if I can't figure that out quickly. Menu. There it is, okay. Function. We're gonna go to 60p. Boom. Okay.
And it was at this moment that I had to use a lifeline. It happened off camera, we didn't catch it, but I couldn't figure out how to adjust the shutter speed. And so, I had to ask Jacob, how? So that's one less lifeline for me.
Stranger, don't you miss the days?
We ran into this amazing musician, and I did pay him before filming him. I asked if it was okay. So check out Isaiah the artist. He was insane.
Let's go get some beignets.
How's it going?
Pretty good. It's really hard to like do this in an environment like this when it's hot and sweaty and you've never even touched this camera before. But it hasn't been as hard as I thought it would be to adapt. I will say The biggest thing for me is I find just the normal colors on this screen way less inspiring than I find on that screen. Not the end of the world, because I usually use a monitor anyway, but that's like the biggest, I think that's the biggest thing for me so far.
The review.
All right. Well, I have looked at the footage. I've checked it all out. I've since been sick. If you can't tell from my voice, maybe it was New Orleans. I don't know. So starting with the good, the image quality is great. The dynamic range is really similar to what you would expect from the XH2S. I think they're basically the same. Rolling shutter, virtually non-existent. The colors, I think basically color-wise, you can get something very similar to the XH2S. Fujifilm maybe is just naturally a little nicer. However, I think it's really easy to get something similar with the Sony. And everything was graded with Dehancer.
Use code Aaron for 10% off Dehancer. Link is in the bio.
And it was super easy to match them in post with Dehancer. I actually had a hard time telling which one was which. One big difference is sharpness, but that's easy to kind of match in post. The IBIS was the biggest thing for me. The IBIS on the FX3 looked really organic, looked like great handheld footage. I truly love everything about the IBIS system in that more than the Fujifilms. Fuji's isn't bad by any means, but it's just different. Fuji's, to me, replaces a monopod, where the FX3 replaces kind of a weighed out rig. And so the only thing that I really couldn't do that I would maybe want to do with the FX3 was hold it still and have it act like a monopod, because even the Active had some movement and swaying. But on the Fuji, it's either like locked off, or if you try to tilt and pan, it might jump and it might ruin a shot, where I didn't feel like the Sony did that near as much. Nothing that you saw was stabilized in post. Clear image zoom was really cool. It was a nice feature. I know Fuji has their own version. For this camera, you can like push a button and it'll almost do a 1.5 times crop, but it was really nice to have on that rocker on the camera. And the dual native ISO, I mean, 12,800, what more can you ask for from a native ISO? That's insane. It does incredible work with low light. The Fuji definitely does good in low light, but nothing like what the Sony can do. All right, let's move on to the things that I didn't love about the camera. I think the menu and user interface was a little hard to navigate. I've used Canon, Blackmagic, Fujifilm. From all of those, I thought that it was a little more rough to navigate, but it wasn't that bad. Just, I don't know. There was a few things that like slowed me down here and there. One I don't love is I can't really take great photos with this. This camera, the XH2S, could take professional photos if I need to. And then when traveling, I can take great photos. Limited to only 12 megapixels. You can do great work with 12 megapixels. However, you probably wouldn't want to bring that on a professional shoot. And then no EVF, obviously, you wouldn't want to be stuck without that for photos. But we're filmmakers. Let's go back to some filmmaking things. And one is, this is, to me, a big pile of poo-poo, is, I don't know why I said that, is the fact that there's no open gate in the FX3. I would love that feature, and I would dearly miss it if I did move to the FX3. If you're shooting a commercial, then you can shoot it in open gate and crop it based off of what social media platform you need it for. It's really nice. And then the last one is, it's really expensive. The Fujifilm is a lot cheaper. It's $1,400 cheaper than the FX3. That's a lot of money. That's a really nice lens and a good monitor and a full rig for the camera when you're just buying the body of the FX3. You get an incredible ROI on this gear when it's just as good, and I think in some areas better, than Sony, Canon, and all those others. Now that wraps up my thoughts. I know nothing was like very technical there, but that's not what I'm going for here. I really just wanted to show my experience and share that. Enjoy this reel that I made all from the FX3, graded with Dehancer, and I'll catch you right afterwards. Well, like I said, this isn't a very technical comparison of the FX3 versus the XH2S, but I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. I think we get too caught up in the technical side of things when realistically, like, what inspires you and what makes you a better creator is the most important thing, and it's not going to be the same for each person. And so subscribe if you haven't already. I have some exciting videos coming up soon, and I actually, if you want some technical things, I have a XH2S review that you'll see popping up on the screen here in a little bit that you can watch. Stick around for that. But other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.